Next 30 minutes, we'll take you through all the top stories from across the globe on WION Speed News. Palestinians clash with Israeli soldiers on Tuesday in the West Bank and Gaza Strip after Israeli forces killed 60 Palestinians near the Gaza-Israel border during demonstrations against the opening of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Israeli forces shot dead 2 more Palestinians on Tuesday, although protests were quieter than the previous day. On the Israeli side of the border, Israeli sharpshooters took up positions to stop any attempted breach of the fence should demonstrations break out again. Now, tanks were also deployed. Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May condemned the violence in Gaza as tragic and concerning and called for an independent investigation after Israeli troops shot dead dozens of Palestinian protesters on the Gaza border on Monday. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, who is on a 3-day visit to the UK, extended his condolences to the families of those who lost their lives as a result of incidents taking place in Palestine. Belgium's foreign ministry has summoned Israel's ambassador a day after Israeli forces killed more than 60 Palestinians during protests on the Gaza border. The shooting on the Gaza border on Monday took place as the high-profile opening of the U.S. Embassy to Israel in Jerusalem raised tension to boiling point there. Kuwait's UN ambassador said on Tuesday he would propose a draft United Nations Security Council resolution on the protection of the Palestinian civilians. Though he clarified he was not talking about peacekeeping, speaking ahead of a Security Council meeting on recent violence in Gaza, Ambassador told the reporters he would likely circulate the draft resolution to the 15-member council on Wednesday. It was unclear when it would be put to vote. Palestinians marched alongside Lebanese protesters in southern Lebanon to mark the 70th anniversary of the Nakba or catastrophe, when hundreds of thousands fled or were driven from their homes in the war that ensued between the newly created Jewish state and its Arab neighbors in 1948. For the past 6 weeks, Palestinians have been holding Gaza border demonstrations for the return of Palestinian refugees to areas that are now part of Israel. Monday saw the worst bloodshed so far, with 60 Palestinians killed and more than 2,200 injured by gunfire or tear gas. Palestinian refugees in the Jordanian capital Amman held a march on Tuesday to mark the 70th anniversary of Nakba or catastrophe. The march was also in protest against the opening of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem a day after. Residents of the Palestinian refugee camp of Vehadat, including some women and children, chanted slogans and waved Palestinian flags as they marched through the camp at night. On Monday, the United States opened its Israeli embassy in Jerusalem following President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Chief negotiator Saeb Erekat has said that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas recalled the Palestinian envoy to Washington on Tuesday. Erekat said that Palestine Liberation Organization chief representative in Washington was already on his way back to the Palestinian territories. The Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki signed papers on Tuesday to refer Israel to the International Criminal Court for war crimes, including its response to protests in Gaza and settlement building, Erekat added. Now, hundreds of mourners shed tears and celebrated the return of the remains of 20 Egyptian Christians slain by Islamic State in Libya in 2015 on Tuesday. Hundreds of Christians from neighboring villages attended a mourning prayer at a church built to commemorate the victims in their home village of Al-Ar in Minya province. A special shrine holding the bodies of the victims was surrounded by crying family members who said they were joyful to have finally received their loved ones after a 3-year wait. In what is turning out to be a worst diplomatic crisis between the two regional powers, Israel expelled the Turkish consul in Jerusalem on Tuesday. The Israeli Foreign Ministry spokesman said in a statement that the consul had been summoned and was told to return to Turkey for consultations for a period of time. Earlier on Tuesday, Turkey expelled Israel's ambassador in Ankara. North Korea said on Wednesday it had no choice but to suspend high-level talks with South Korea scheduled for later in the day due to the US-South Korean military exercises that went against the trend of warming North-South ties. The meeting is due today was to focus on plans to implement the declaration that emerged from an April 27th Inter-Korea summit. The declaration included commitments to formally end the Korean War. U.S. President Donald Trump honored fallen police officers at a ceremony in Washington, saying, "We will never forget our fallen heroes." Trump mentioned Las Vegas police officer Charles Hartfield, who was killed by a gunman who opened fire from the Mandalay Hotel in Las Vegas last year. Trump made the remarks at the 37th Annual National Peace Officers Memorial service in front of the U.S. Capitol. Europe is seeking to find a way to save the Iran nuclear deal, but was short on details about how the accord could survive the reimposition of U.S. sanctions ordered by President Donald Trump. British, French and German foreign ministers met the EU's top diplomat in Brussels a week after Trump abandoned an agreement which he branded as a horrible one-sided deal. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said the four would be discussing a package of measures aimed at encouraging the Iranians to stay in the deal. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif sought guarantees from European powers that it will get the economic benefits of the deal, warning there was not much time for them to deliver those assurances. Arriving for a meeting with his EU, German, British and French counterpart, Zarif said it remained to be seen if remaining signatories could deliver the benefits of the 2015 nuclear deal. Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May welcomed Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan outside her official residence in London on Tuesday. May said the meeting was an opportunity for Britain and Turkey to demonstrate their close relationship and to have important discussions about issues of shared interest such as defence cooperation. Erdogan is also meeting the Queen as part of his three-day trip. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with the chairman of the WION Forum for the Asia, Ban Ki-moon, on Tuesday, hoping that the forum would provide new methods for solving development issues and improving economic governance. She said that as the host country, China will support the work of the board of directors of the BFA and back the forum to continue increasing its influence. The Chinese president further added that the establishment and development of the BFA coincided with China's reform and opening up process. Chinese President Xi Jinping called on China and Trinidad and Tobago to enhance synergy of the development strategies and plans during a meeting with the visiting Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley. She said that he appreciated the long-term contribution made by Rowley and the People's National Movement in developing relations with China. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was sentenced to 30 days in jail by a Moscow court on Tuesday for his role in organizing a nationwide protest against President Vladimir Putin on May 5th. Some 1,600 anti-Kremlin activists, including Navalny, were detained during protest held ahead of Putin's inauguration for a fourth term as president. Navalny had called for demonstrations in more than 90 towns and cities under the slogan, "Trump is not our Tsar," to protest what he says is Putin's autocratic rule. Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi said that if a new electronic voting system used in weekend elections was found to be faulty, the Election Commission should hold a nationwide recount. Abadi said that after accusations of fraud and faulty machines in the northern province of Kirkuk, the Election Commission should hold a manual recount there. He added that if there were found to be faults in Kirkuk, the recount should take place in all of Iraq. Residents of the Shiite stronghold of Sadr city showed their full support for Muqtada al-Sadr, regarding him as the only one who can save Iraq from Iran's influence. Populist Sadr swept Iraq's parliamentary elections by tapping into growing public resentment directed at Iran and what some voters say is a corrupt political elite that has failed to help the poor. But Iran is unlikely to relinquish its influence in Iraq, its most important ally in the Middle East, and will push for a coalition that will preserve its interests. Venezuela officially kicked off its controversial general elections, with the military distributing all electoral material that will culminate with the vote on May 20th. The so-called Republic Plan will feature 14,000 voting centers throughout the Caribbean nation to be used for the Sunday vote. The launch was attended by members of Venezuela's National Guard, who held up signs for the voting centers they will make sure is ready. Incumbent President Nicolas Maduro's main opposition rivals are barred from standing, and most Venezuelans regard the election board as answerable to Maduro. New Catalan leader Quim Torra called for an end to direct rule over the Catalan regional government by Madrid at a joint news conference held in Berlin with former regional leader Carles Puigdemont. Torra said that the first aim of the newly formed Catalan government would be to seek dialogue with Madrid, adding that he had travelled to Berlin to pay homage to former leader Puigdemont, whom he called Catalonia's legitimate president. The Catalan parliament voted in hardline separatist Torra on Monday, bringing an end to 7 months of direct rule from Madrid. Argentines marched on Tuesday against a deal the government made last week with the International Monetary Fund. Protesters waved signs as they marched towards the central bank, and some brought out food to feed fellow protesters. Protest leader Daniel Menendez said that the distribution of food was aimed at being visual protest itself. Meanwhile, Argentina's beleaguered peso suffered a jolt after the central bank offered to sell up to $5 billion in the spot market. London-based street artist Pegasus has paid tribute to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's upcoming wedding with a black and white mural in Windsor. The artwork outside the Windsor and Eton Brewery was spray painted in 1 hour on Tuesday. It is the artist's depiction of an image from the happy couple's official engagement photo shoot. Pegasus designed the piece on Photoshop, hand drew and hand cut the stencils, then spray painted the 7 layers of his design. He wanted to create a mural in the royal town of Windsor, as it is the heart of the wedding commemorations. In a bread festival in Paris on Tuesday, the prize for France's best traditional baguette went on a baker from La Réunion Island. The title is a boost to Victor, who usually advertises it to attract clientele as part of the Fête du Pain, which sets bakers try out new recipes and organize events such as outdoor bakeries and public tastings. A prestigious competition is held to discover the best baguette baked in the French tradition. The traditional baguette is made of flour, salt and water. German prosecutors brought charges on Tuesday against employees of weapons manufacturer Heckler Koch, who they accuse of illegally trafficking arms to Mexican federal states to which Berlin had prohibited guns export. In 2016, Heckler Koch, one of the world's best-known gun makers, said it would no longer sign contracts to supply countries outside of NATO's influence because it had become too difficult to obtain government approval for such deals. News from India now, quite on the lines of what exit polls have suggested. BJP emerged as the top performer in the Karnataka assembly elections, winning 104 out of 222 seats. However, the party fell 8 seats short of attaining a majority mark. The Congress has now backed JDS in a bid to stitch together a coalition so as to keep the Saffron party out of power. All eyes are now on Governor Vajubhai Wala, who will decide whether to call BJP to try to form the government or go with the JDS Congress combined, which together have a clear majority in the 224-member assembly. People in India's western Vadodara city continue to face the brunt of intense heat wave conditions on Monday, even as many regions of the country were pounded by unseasonal storm and torrential rains. Local residents struggle to go about their daily routines in the city, which recorded a temperature of 44 degrees Celsius on Monday. Meanwhile, massive dust storms continued to cause rampage in India's northern Uttar Pradesh state after it extensively damaged crops and put mango farmers in Kanpur city of the state in dismay. At least 18 people were killed and scores more trapped under rubble after part of a flyover under construction in the northern Indian city of Varanasi collapsed on Tuesday. Senior police officials said a 20-meter beam which was being fitted to the flyover collapsed, crushing vehicles and pedestrians on the road. 7 cranes had been sent to lift the beam and the army had been summoned. Kumar said that he added that an investigation into the incident was ongoing, but no arrest had been made so far. A 2-day film festival was held to celebrate the centenary birth anniversary of a revered Buddhist Lama in Kashmir's high desert Leh city. The 2-day celebrations Kushok Bakula Rinpoche Centenary Film Festival held on May 12 to 13 saw participation of a range of filmmakers, short filmmakers and documentary directors. Indian government's Girl Child Welfare Scheme was among the relevant social issues that were portrayed in films screened at the festival. Authorities suggest that a man who broke into a pop star Rihanna's Hollywood Hills home and spent 12 hours there has been charged with stalking the singer. Los Angeles County prosecutors say 26-year-old Eduardo Leon of Fullerton was charged with felony counts of stalking, burglary and vandalism and a misdemeanor count of resisting arrest. Leon is accused of climbing over a fence and breaking into the singer's house on May 9th. While sharing the new poster of his Bollywood debut film, Karvan, Malayalam actor Dulquer Salman took to Twitter to announce the release date of the film as August 10th. Irfan Khan and Mithila Palkar starrer Karwan is a story about three people from different walks of life meeting on a road trip. Meghan Markle's father, Thomas Markle, has refused to attend his daughter's wedding to UK Prince Harry. According to reports, the 73-year-old reportedly took the decision amid allegations that he cooperated with a photo agency to stage pictures of himself preparing for the wedding day. This is deeply personal moment for me, Miss Markle, a royal spokesperson said. Shifting focus to football, former striker Roberto Mancini has been appointed as the head coach of Italian national football team. The 53-year-old has been handed the task of reviving the Azzurri's fortunes following the shock failure to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. Mancini, who has won league titles in Italy with Inter Milan and England with Manchester City, has agreed on a 2-year deal till the 2020 European Championship with an option to extend it until the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. '14 World Cup hero Mario Götze has been left out of the provisional German squad named by coach Joachim Löw for the 2018 World Cup. Götze, who scored the winner in the final against Argentina, misses out alongside fellow winner André Schürrle. Captain and goalkeeper Manuel Neuer has been included despite not featuring competitive due to a foot fracture since September 2017.